Mr. Williams, I would adopt the protocol that has been established. And I would say also good afternoon to those who are listening to this broadcast via whatever means. The reopening of our borders will bring with it an entire transformation of the way we do things in the Federation. Almost every aspect of travel, both air and sea, has changed. Our systems of ground transportation, has also been revamped, all in an effort to mitigate the risks of exposure to the virus. We have heard from the previous speakers of all the new requirements and protocols to be followed by arriving travelers and transportation providers. These new protocols are not meant to replace the existing protocols which we have been promoting over the last 8 months, but are rather to complement them. The COVID-19 Emergency Powers Regulation sets the legal framework for these protocols, and this includes consequences for failure to comply. These regulations will eventually be replaced by the new COVID-19 Control and Mitigation Bill, which has had its first reading in Parliament and should have its second and final reading very shortly. Our visitors and returning nationals will be expected to adhere to all the regulations, particularly those of wearing of masks, good hand hygiene, and good sanitization habits, and social and physical distancing. We particularly ask our nationals to understand the need to have some physical separation between persons coming from high-risk countries and our residents for the minimum period of 14 days, which is the time that the virus generally takes to manifest itself in PCR tests. This is so even for your relatives or loved ones. I would touch on some very controversial topics or subheadings now in my presentation. There were much entertainment. I'll begin with entertainment. There were much rumors being spread last week about the police cancelling social activities or social events. This was far from the truth. All events that received approval were allowed to be hosted. With the opening of the borders, however, we can appreciate that our risk will increase. The police will therefore be more selective with the types of social events that are approved. We remind the public that permission is still required from the Commissioner of Police in writing to host all social activities, including those kept at residences. The police will be guided by the regulations and consider applications in the best interests of public health and safety. I will touch a bit on sporting activities. The current iteration of the Emergency Powers Regulation allow competitive sporting events with 50% capacity in stadium. Additionally, spectators are required to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols of wearing masks, sanitization, and physical distancing. We have used the period leading up to the reopening of our borders as a trial period of sorts to test our spectators' compliance with these protocols. I'm not very happy to report that spectators who attended some sporting events have not been taking their health seriously and those around them, and have treated the protocols with very scant regard. The new COVID-19 bill will therefore be addressing the question of whether or not to continue to allow spectators in stadium during competitive sporting events. Regional international travel. The new COVID-19 bill will give legal effect to the travelers' entry protocols, and some of these have just been explained by Ms. Blanchard. Arriving travelers will first have to complete the relevant entry and other consent forms prior to entry. The protocols would include consent to be monitored electronically by a bracelet and mobile app, and giving health updates on a daily basis for the duration of your quarantine period. Persons entering the Federation will first have to obtain permission from the Ministry of National Security. This permission, however, will only be given after the relevant vetting by the other agencies involved, that is, Customs, Immigration, and Port Health, have been satisfactorily completed. The COVID-19 bill, or the proposed COVID-19 bill, is very extensive and has many other provisions that time will not permit me to exhaust at this time. But as time goes by, during our weekly briefings, I will address other aspects of this very important bill and would inform our public accordingly. As we look forward to the opening of our borders, we wish everyone a very safe opening and continue to comply with the regulations that were meant to keep us all safe. Thank you.